Hello, SGD, Sacred Geometry Decoded, Science of the Symbols, Part 32, and in this one we're looking at Azoth, and especially Mercury as Azoth. Now, you might notice, the monad, but what we really have is a mercurial symbol there. Mercury as Azoth, as described by the philosophers. Now, I'm going to be putting some very interesting, very important links in the description that will connect to this, and I'll hopefully remember to include it at the end as well, but please do check out the description and look at the links. Okay, so Stefan Mikkelspacher, Nature in Alchemy, important alchemist as opposed to the modern stuff, but especially this image. And so we have these 7 figures here. Venus or Aphrodite, copper; Mars or the planet Mars or the god of war, iron, Aries; the sun, Apollo or gold; Mercury as in the element and the planet; Mercury also Hermes as in hermeticism. Notice he's on a hexagonal plinth. Artemis or Diana, the moon or silver; and there we have the lightning bolt of Jupiter or Zeus, which is tin; and there we have Saturn, the planet, or Kronos, the god, or the element lead. And there we see the planetary symbols, and but they also how they connect to alchemy and the ancient alchemists, the actual alchemists, as opposed to a lot of the New Age stuff. Okay, gold, silver, tin, iron, mercury, copper, lead, for instance. Now, all these important elements. Now, cinnabar. Cinnabar is the ore from where we get mercury, or the main source. It's this reddish ore. Mercury, the god Mercury, the planet Mercury, the element Mercury. Now, Mercury is also known as Hermes, or Hermeticism, and there we see the older Caduceus, sometimes called the Kundalini, and how that connects to the planetary, the element symbol, and the god. Now, this is the more this is a more the Roman era version, most popular, famous one, I suppose. But we still see this symbol carrying on. Hermes is Mercury, is Hermeticism, is Azoth. Again, another example of a Hermes and Mercury, the Roman, the more popular one, with the more recognized Caduceus, and the original style. Now we just see example of that planetary element symbol as well, how it connects to that god. Who was Hermes? Who was Mercury? They were the god of knowledge. They were the god of science. They were the god of weights and measures. They were the god of science. So let's do a connection between, let's just call it Mediterranean, Mercury, Hermes, because it's basically all the peoples and cultures surrounding the Mercury, and compare that to China and to Mesoamerica. So in China, vermilion ink. Vermilion ink comes from cinnabar. That's this red colouring is from cinnabar, and only it was reserved for the Emperor of China to use vermilion or cinnabar ink. We also find that cinnabar ore, which is used in carving to make vases, etc. But now over to Mexico, and so what we have here is the tomb of the Red Queen, one of the names for her. And there we see the sarcophagus itself. That is cinnabar dust, crushed cinnabar, or mercury, here in China and Mesoamerica, as well as the Mediterranean world, the New World, Asia, and the Old World. You can distill mercury. So here we have basically mercury droplets emerging from cinnabar, this important ore and now mercury, hugely important on so many levels. Now, China, the Qin emperor, the first unified emperor of Qin. Now, of China, Qin, that's where it gets the name from. We also have the terracotta warriors. So here is the Chinese pyramid tomb of Emperor Qin, and we see the terracotta warriors, one of the positions of there, and there's terracotta placements all around there. And we also have the pyramid of a feathered serpent in Teotihuacan in Mexico. So that's approximately 150 AD. It's approximately 300 BC. In Asia, in the New World, as they say, pre-Columbian America, we have these pyramids connected there. Now, how do they join to cinnabar? Well, okay, let's go. Now, they have not opened this tomb in China, but through what they have studied, there is very well. Mercury is saturating this place, and well, based on the sampling and evidence they've got, that the central tomb, that there was a pool, there were pools of mercury. Now, liquid mercury, okay, well, that's mercury is a very curious, very special amongst the periodic table. It's one of the most significant, important elements. Mercury, it's a liquid metal, but it freezes and turns into a solid at a relatively low temperature, about 38 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit or Celsius. But also over here in Mexico at Teotihuacan, we have liquid mercury at the end of this tunnel. Now, this tunnel also, they had these spheres which were made of pyrites. Amazing metallurgy here in this particular tunnel. We also see the evidence of, well, liquid mercury is there, no doubt. Maybe when they opened the pyramid of the tomb of Emperor Qin. Now notice this famous picture of him. He's got vermilion ink. This is a very important feature for Chinese emperors. But mercury, very, very important. Now, in Chinese alchemy, mercury was hugely important, but they also thought it was important medicinal. Now, Paracelsus, which is one of the granddaddies of European alchemy, let's just call it briefly, he also believed that mercury was the universal remedy, amongst other things. So not only do we have it used in metallurgy, alchemy, but also in apothecary or medicines as well. Now, that's a nice connection. But now, I'll put the link to this article in the description. Liquid mercury found under the Mexican pyramid could lead to the king's tomb. So we see nice cross-cultural connections, cross-time, cross-cultures. Now, this is also a screenshot. Now, mercury is toxic and capable of devastating the human body through prolonged exposure. Now, this is the important part. The liquid metal had no apparent practical purpose for ancient Mesoamericans, but it has been discovered at other sites. Rosemary Joyce, professor of anthropology at University of Berkeley, California, said that archaeologists have found mercury at 3 other sites around Central America. Okay, now let's look at that line. The liquid metal had no apparent purpose for ancient Mesoamericans. This is one of the big problems with anthropologists and sociologists who look at science as some sort of dirty word, because this is one of, all due respect to her anthropological work, but if you're going to make this is one of the most ridiculous statements that have ever been uttered. Ever. The liquid metal had no apparent purpose for ancient Mesoamericans. Well, Mesoamerican metallurgy, but why is mercury so important? Mercury has the most practical purpose when it comes to silver and gold. The most practical purpose, not no apparent purpose. It is the most practical thing to do with silver and gold. Now, China, what were these civilizations? Well, silver and gold, especially gold. They believed gold was also, along with mercury, was a source to immortality, and they would eat gold dust. But silver and gold, hugely important in China, ancient China. Now, El Dorado, what was, especially with the conquistadors, what were they looking for? Silver and gold. Both these cultures, as well as the Europeans, were obsessed with silver and gold, and mercury has the most practical purpose for silver and gold. For instance, I'll put the link to this will be one of the links in the video where there's some excellent chemistry channels where they talk about mercury. Now, this is a piece of gold leaf. You drop some liquid mercury on it, and it essentially melts it. It dissolves it. Mercury is very reactive, especially with silver and gold. Mercury eats it up. It forms an amalgam. So when you hear like silver and gold amalgam in 2 fillings, this is mercury mixed with silver and or gold. Now, gold miners, for instance, here they're panning, but so there's gold dust in the bottom. What they do, it's very dangerous practice, especially in the poorer countries, and they're very risk-taking with their very toxic mercury. But you put liquid mercury into the pan, and the gold melts with it. It dissolves into it, and it forms an amalgam. So the mercury and the gold bond together. It's what they want to do. This is why mercury is so important. This also works with silver. silver and gold, amalgam. Amalgam is an alloy of mercury. And once you've got your silver or gold and you've poured your mercury into it, the gold or silver will attach, and all you need to do is boil it off. And the mercury, at a lower temperature than the melting point of gold or silver, the mercury will boil away, leaving you with gold or silver. It's the most practical thing when it comes to gold and silver cultures. This is again an amazing statement to say the liquid had no apparent practical purpose for ancient Mesoamericans. Flabbergasted by this statement. I'm absolutely flabbergasted. Yes, this is the problem with specialization. This is why we need to go back to the liberal arts and some concept of non-specialization, or at least a grounding in other areas, rather than social studies being enemies of the sciences. It's a terrible, terrible thing what's happening, and this has got to do with the alchemical concept of the alchemical wedding of sun and moon, which translates to gold and silver. The male sun and the female moon is gold and silver. The alchemist spoke in a coded language, and I'm going to put another excellent video link in the description where, I think is it Melvin Bragg on the BBC. Well, he talks to people knowledgeable in the alchemical text and knowledgeable in history and chemistry, as opposed to McKenna. Okay, so how does this connect to Azoth? So we have this work attributed to Basil Valentine, Azoth of the philosophers. Azoth is Mercury. It's the alchemical, the essential agent of transformation. Please do look at the links in the description. The sun and the moon. Mercury, there's a symbol for Mercury. We have Venus, Mars, Saturn, Jupiter and Saturn. The other elements, but the sun, the moon, gold and silver and Mercury. Now, also this is by Heinrich Kunrath, Azoth. Note the male, the sun, gold, the divine hermaphrodite. It's not a gender bending issue. It's an alchemical allegory. The sun is gold, male. The moon is female, is silver, and they are connected with Azoth, the mercurial symbol, Mercury. This is what's going on in alchemy. So, cinnabar, this is the ore. We can see liquid mercury emerging from it. Mercury is an amazing element. It's just really special. It stands out on the periodic table. Alchemia, 1570, we see a distillery to use a furnace. You heat up the mercury turns into a liquid, and then you can distill it and you can get pure mercury. You can use this in mining and to purify your gold and silver. It also works with copper and other elements too. So all those other 7 elements, mercury, that's why mercury is at the top of this tree all the time, because it is the fundamental essential element of transformation in a literal sense, and it's a very important feature. Now, okay, we already saw it. Now, the second key of Basil Valentine, clavis is key, and again we see the sun, the moon, Mercury. Also note the fleur-de-lis, one is upside down, one is up, and rod of Asclepius, because Mercury is, that's something I'm not too sure on, but I have cool links. But anyway, sun, moon, Mercury, gold, Mercury, silver. This is it. And there we can see the same. So Mercury, sun, and moon. Mercury, sun, moon, gold, and silver. And just like in this depiction, Azoth with Mercury, the sun is gold, male, the silver is female, the moon. And that is alchemy. That is what's going on here. Links in the description, especially the one to BBC in Our Time Alchemy, because it really, the people that are talking about it, they really know what they're talking about, and they even admit to what they do not know, but they really explain it well, including ancient connections back to Hermes Trismegistus. What was the tutor of Alexander the Great? Aristotle as well, and how they talk about the philosophical elements of alchemy in a chemical sense, not in, in McKenna sense. So Azoth, Mercury, sun, gold, silver, moon. With that, hope you enjoyed. Have a good one.